Well, I have to admit something to you. When I first started reading Barbara's books, I wasn't sure how well I would be able to relate to her teaching. But since then, she has become one of my most valued, wise spiritual guides. And I followed her wise counsel, and I've been spending a lot more time outside in the dark. The fireflies are out, which is beautiful. I've started to learn some of the stars and constellations I can see. I've even bought a telescope. And when I think that some of the light that I'm seeing has left the stars millions of years ago, I'm awestruck. Mostly, being in the dark of night has been peaceful, a quiet way for me to end my days. And I'm learning to see the goodness and the stars and the constellations in some of the other dark places in my life. Welcome back to this ritual series on the Treasures of Darkness with Barbara Brown Taylor. I'm Matt Bloom, and in this last session, it's a gentle invitation for you to be curious about the dark that's in you. Looking at the darkness inside of us is especially difficult in a culture that works so hard to tell us to look the other way.
We are all so busy constructing zones of safety that keep breaking down, that we hardly notice where all the suffering is coming from. We keep thinking that the problem is out there, in the things that scare us. Dark nights, dark thoughts, dark guests, dark emotions. If we could just defend ourselves better against those things we think, then surely we would feel more solid and secure. But of course we're wrong about that, as experience proves again and again. The real problem has far less to do with what is really out there than it does with our resistance to finding out what is really out there. The suffering comes from our reluctance to learn to walk in the dark.
Does this resonate with you? I know that I often feel this resistance to look inward. So let's take a moment now and practice this together. We can begin to look at what's inside. So ask yourself, what is some of the darkness in me? Be gentle but brave. What is some of the darkness in me? What comes to mind for me is very sensitive, very private, difficult, and a little bit embarrassing, so I hope you'll understand that I'm not going to share. But I can see and feel the darkness. If you feel a reluctance or uncertainty, you don't have to judge it. Just take notice and be curious. Barbara encourages us to sit with that reluctance, that uneasiness that comes from what is unknown.
There is meaning even when you can't see it yet, and that all of life is full of revelation. The parts we seek and the parts we would throw away, the enlightenment, the endarkenment, for me, to be a person of faith is doggedly to keep putting one foot ahead of the other, saying, so what's this about? So what's this about? Not, do I like this? Do I want more of this? Do I want less of this? What's this about? What am I being shown here? I can't see it now. Okay, but I'm going to keep asking, what's this about?
Maybe this is the question that you can hold as you're doing this work. What is this about? What is this darkness about? Whatever is coming up for you, please don't pass judgment. Try to just be curious. You can temper the feelings you're having by simply naming them. Naming them won't make them go away, but it really does help. Here's a profound and important truth that Barbara has been sharing with us throughout this series. Darkness is a part of being fully human. And knowing our darkness is a way to know ourselves more fully. So, go only as far in this practice as you wish. Stay in a safe place and feel free to stop any time. But let's go a little bit further if we can. What stories do you associate with this darkness in you? How do you explain it to yourself? No matter what stage of life we're in, getting to know our darkness is a meaningful and important work. Here's Barbara grappling with the question that she's been sitting with at this stage of her life.
I don't mean this to sound as gloomy as it does, but I'm going to die. And that's not something you study for the night before. And this seems like a wonderful period while I'm well and walking to explore surrender and doing less and not being in the know and not having a project I'm working on, to think about what it is to age and to do that as intentionally as I can. And nobody much wants to talk about it, but it seems to me like sacred work.
What about you? What sacred work is tugging at your heart? What do you and your heart long for? For you. For others. For the world. As Barbara said, not everyone wants to think about these things, but it is truly sacred and important work. Before we close this last session, let me leave you with a sustaining practice that you can carry into the days ahead. Befriending and learning from our darkness is a practice we'll have to come back to again and again. So you may want to find new and creative ways to engage with your darkness, even if they seem a little bit strange at first. So here's the practice. Compose your own pledge or vow to the darkness inside of you, and then say it out loud. If it doesn't sound quite right, try it again until it does. You're simply at first trying to recognize and in some way befriend this darkness. As you do, you'll learn from it. I'd encourage you to repeat this practice as often as you can, and maybe you can make it a ritual that coincides with the moon cycle, or perhaps you can take this new pledge every time there's a new moon. I hope you'll keep engaging with and befriending your darkness. As we come to the end of this wonderful series, I hope you found something useful that speaks to you. I'd encourage you to take the practices that resonated most with you and continue to explore your own relationship with the darkness, both the darkness in the world around you and the darkness inside of you. And here's Barbara for one final bit of wisdom.
Whether you go it alone or with company, your job is as simple and as hard as this. Drop what you believe about the dark, or have been taught about the dark, to see for yourself what is true.